What's up, guys? Today we are here with the most special guest we've ever had, probably ever will have. I don't know how I landed this. Basically, just be loud, like I always say. Network, put yourself out there. So we have Mr. RJ Bates, better known as the King Closer. You've seen him 50-50-50, runs Titanium Investments, and better yet, to me, the most important thing is he runs Titanium University. So, RJ, glad to have you.
What's up, man? Appreciate you having me on here. And you're right. The way you landed this was by being loud. I mean, man, the late night DMs back in 2023 when you were trying to figure this out. That's how you ended up figuring out wholesale and getting into Titanium University. And now look at you, man, running your own YouTube channel, podcast. Love it.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I keep telling people. I don't just talk to talk, like, be loud. Everything I've had was from being loud. So, yeah, dude. Well, first, I'm just curious, kind of like, why wholesaling? I know you'd had a job at Pizza Hut, but like, there were so many things. Why wholesaling?
So Cassie and I were running a contracting company, and the day that we received probably the most money that we ever had in our bank account at one time, the gentleman that handed it to me for a roof job and over by SMU in Dallas, he said, "Do you do remodels?" And of course, me being an entrepreneur, I was like, "Of course." And he's like, "All right, man, I've got a flip. The keys are in the mailbox. It's just right down the road. Y'all go over there, write me up a bid, and let me know how much it's going to cost me to flip that house." So we went over there. We figured it out. It wasn't easy, but we ended up doing the remodel, essentially flipping the house for him from a contractor's perspective. And while we were doing the work, I kept asking him, I was like, how did you find this house? And he was like, "Oh, I bought it from a wholesaler." And I'm like, "Well, what does that mean?" And he was like, "Oh, it's this company called Net Worth Realty. They've got it like bandit signs, all over Dallas. It says, hey, if you're looking to buy cheap houses, call here." And that's how they generate their buyers list. And of course, this was back in like 2012, 2013, somewhere in that range. And so we went through that process, and it kind of always stuck with me. Like, so the person that actually found the house was the wholesaler, and then they didn't do anything and they sold the house. So obviously we know that they made money. And I knew how hard it was to flip that house because I was the one that did all of the work, right? Yeah. So it resonated with me from that perspective because as a general contractor, you're a middleman. You have your client, and then you have your subcontractors that actually do all the work. So you're essentially a wholesaler of labor on a remodel. And so I'm like, that's what a wholesaler is in real estate. They find the house and then they find the guy that wants to flip it and they're making money. That's what I'm doing. But I've got to go to Home Depot. I got to pick up the sheetrock. I got to worry about these guys doing the work correctly. As a wholesaler, I really wouldn't have to worry about any of that. Mm-hmm. So long story short, my mom got hooked on a Facebook ad, said A&E's Flipping Boston is going to be in Fort Worth, Texas. And come see them, and they're going to teach you how to become a real estate investor. And so she was like, "Hey, I got this free thing. Come, I bought you tickets." So we went down to it, and essentially all it was is we don't actually flip houses. What you see on TV is BS. We do wholesaling, and the actors of Flipping Boston were not there. It was a bunch of their students that were just dressed up really nice and talking about how much money they made wholesaling. And they're like, "You go to the back of the room for $1,200. We'll teach you how to wholesale in 2 days." So we went to the back room, swiped the card, $1,200. A couple of weeks later, we come back, and they did teach us a little bit, right? They were like, "This is what an assignment is. This is what a double close is." They broke down the 70% of ARV minus repairs, minus your wholesale fee equals your maximum allowable offer. So it was like, all right. And for me, I'm sitting there and I'm like, this makes sense. Like this, I'm vibing. I'm ready to do this. And I'm ready to shut down the contracting business because I knew we were never going to have financial freedom through that. So they were like, go to the back of the room. And then that's where you get like our diamond platinum package to where we show you everything, right? We're going to show you financial freedom. So we go to the back of the room and they're like, all right, here's all the different packages. And it's $65,000. But don't worry. We know you don't have $65,000. So we'll call your credit card company right now and we'll explain to them how your credit line needs to be increased so you can afford this. And so we went out. It was a hotel in Fort Worth, Texas. We went out into the parking lot, and my dad had passed away in 2012. My mom had the financial capabilities because of some life insurance policies and some savings that she had. And I basically just asked her, I was like, I didn't finish college. I don't have a true career path. I know I want to be an entrepreneur. Let's be business partners. Let's do this. If you can afford to pay for this, then I will go learn it and I will make sure that we recoup our investment and we actually turn this into a legitimate business. So she did. And for $65,000, we learned how to wholesale off the MLS, dispo on Craigslist. We got flown out to Las Vegas, went to the Luxor Casino. You know, we got to meet Scott and Amy Yancey from Flipping Vegas. We got to take a picture with them. And essentially that was all we got. And, you know, we got pitched set up your LLC for $5,000 over here, buy this vacant land for $20,000 and land bank and all this different stuff. But from a wholesaling perspective, that's what we learned. You know, the partnership with my mom didn't really work out. She thought we got scammed. And we did to a certain degree. And so she was like, listen, if you want to continue on with this, just pay me back my investment and best of luck to you. And so me and Cassie, we really dedicated ourselves. That was August of 2014 that we went to Vegas. And January 1st of 2015, we had done about 4 wholesale transactions. We shut down our contracting company. And then that first year in 2015, we did about $750,000 in assignment fees and never looked back.
That's crazy. Yeah, that's awesome. That's crazy. Especially the making $750K that quick. Like,
yeah.
I know me, it took a while, and people ask, like, what's the real time I'm going to get paid? I'm like, if you do it 6 months, like, just think that it can probably be quicker. It could be 2 weeks, but it's likely not. Okay, so you were talking about like 2012, 2013. What's the one thing that like has changed that you love? And then what's one thing the old school way then that you wish was back or wish was the same?
So a lot's changed. Lead generation has gotten extremely easy in comparison to back then. Our softwares have improved. Like, most people in your position, if you haven't listened to me or someone else that was doing it back then, y'all don't realize we didn't have comping softwares that could give you comps nationwide. We had no comping softwares. PropStream was a CD that you put into your computer and you downloaded it, and it gave you comps in California because that's where they're based out of. Okay. So we had no nationwide comping software. So when we decided to go to a different market, or actually any market, we had to establish a relationship with a licensed realtor who would either comp the property for us themselves, or we had to ask them to give us their login to their MLS access, which is basically illegal on their behalf, and allow us to comp our properties ourselves. And so that in and of itself is extremely different. Dispo softwares, there was no such thing when we got started. There was no access to end buyers. It was Craigslist, Facebook groups, RIAs, going to meetups. That was or realtors. That was the only way for you to dispo deals. So nationwide virtual wholesaling back when we got started was almost impossible, right? So that is a massive change, and I love those changes. Now, what has changed for the worse? There's a lot more influence in the marketplace from YouTube channels, podcasts, people coming out, trying to simplify an already simple business. And because of that, doing things inappropriately, bird dogging is a big thing, daisy chaining deals, filing memorandums on every single property, even though you don't know how to analyze it, you're locking it up too high. And so because of that, regulations are coming down. And we're in a really odd time in the wholesaling industry where the regulations that are coming down right now are kind of hit and miss. It's like in like 20 different states. I want to just go ahead and fast forward to the moment where all 50 states have a regulation so we understand what it looks like moving forward. And I think it weeds out a lot of the bad characters that are giving us a bad name. So that's really the part that I don't like. But from a software and ease of moving into new markets, it's never been better.
I didn't realize that I mean, no comping and the longer process that has to be to reach out to realtors everywhere. Like, I can't imagine. I mean, people complain now with PropStream, with Privy. Like, I could not imagine. And I 1,000,000% agree with the regulations. This Ohio one came out.
Yep.
I was on the phone with Jason when I knew or heard about it, pretty much, besides Jerry's post. And within like 2 minutes, I had such the objection killer that even lifted me on a pedestal more. And that's why I always say, hit me with objections now. Like, let's get this out the way. I'm about to blow your mind. And I get that from you of, let's just get it out the way. So, I hate to say the word, how can someone fast track, but how can someone be the most efficient, time effective, and really get from, no deals to one deal or 1 to 3 in that small time frame?
Yeah, I think the first thing that you have to realize when you're getting started into wholesaling is that it's a journey, and it's not a get rich quick scheme like a lot of people make it out to be. I want to break the myth that you don't need money to get started. Can you do anything without money? Yeah, you can. You can go start a contracting company without having any money. We did it, right? You could go wholesale without having any money, but it's a lot easier if you have a little bit of operating capital. And so to fast track, I would want you to have a little bit of operating capital so you can afford systems, you can afford PPL leads, right? And hopefully some sort of mentorship where you have a little bit of guidance. But if you could go into wholesaling with the primary focus on, I just want to get great at talking to sellers, comping and underwriting correctly, knowing what is a deal to an end buyer, then that's how you fast track. Because when it comes to dispositions, that's a whole new tactic. That's a whole new skill set that's needed. And to be honest with you, the majority of people inside of wholesaling are either really good at acquisitions or really good at dispositions. It's rare that there's an individual that's good at both because they are different skill sets, different ways of talking to people. Your ability to talk to an end buyer is completely different than your skill set to talk to a motivated seller. So if you can come in and you can learn how to have conversations with sellers, lock up contracts that are good deals, then now you control the asset that is being sold, which is the contract. And so once you develop that skill set, now you can leverage other people out there that are great at dispositions, that have already built those buyer relationships, and do joint ventures. You're a classic example of this. You don't need to dispo your own deals. If you go get a deal in a location where you don't have end buyers, you just JV it out with somebody else. But now you have end buyers in certain locations in Ohio. But if you go lock up a deal in Florida, you don't need to figure out who's my end buyer in Florida. It's, hey, I already know, because you're a part of TU, you're a part of a community. You already know that you have a handful of absolute killer dispo houses that can move that deal for you. That's how you fast track it, is you minimize the amount of skill sets that you need to learn starting on day one.
Man, I love that. So agreed, but I never put it that way. I love it. And people, on that note, they get greedy. I've done it. You want 100%, you're going to end up with 0. It's just going to happen. Yep. So great. I love that. And something I tell people, because, I have, tutor, mentee some people. I'm like, you could get somewhere if you walked, but wouldn't you rather have a car? You know, like, let's just go ahead and get some prop stream or something.
Yep.
Okay, so you're doing great. Obviously, you have the business, you have people in place to run certain ones, you have TU. I mean, what's the top things that really keep you going? And on top of that, what is like the end game for you?
Yeah. So what motivates me, what keeps me going? I kind of relentlessly work. Me and you are a lot alike in a lot of ways, except for in this regard. You're very much about like having that freedom of time and enjoying your life. It's not that I don't want to enjoy my life, I do, but I'm very driven by the impact that we make on other people. And so that kind of pushes me into doing crazy things. 50 deals in 50 states in 50 days, right? Daily implementation calls inside of TU when we totally could be just like every other community and just do weekly calls, right? And then on top of that, deciding that I want to do one-on-ones 3 times a week for TU members without charging for it. Just, hey, here's my calendar link. You guys book it whenever you want. And what drives me is when I have one-on-ones with people like Jonathan Collins. I had that earlier this week. I've got my little notepad here. Kid was 23 years old when he joined TU. He had not done a deal in all of 2023, 2024, and he had worked on that, right? He tried to learn wholesaling. He was getting married. He had negative $500 in his bank account. He was eating mac and cheese and bread for every meal. He had an iPhone 11 with no storage, so no apps worked. He had a 15-year-old Mac that could only open Google Sheets and PropStream at the same time. Otherwise, it would shut down. And from joining TU, he was able to turn someone else's $2,800 balance in their Speed Elite account to $33,000. He found a way to get a 98.5% connection rate on his leads. He was able to contract a deal after following up with this lead for 50 days of no answers. And on the first connection, got a signed contract. He now has an orphanage in Uganda with 23 kids. He closes multiple deals every single month now. And he's, in his words, living the dream, right? He's married. He has money. He's not eating mac and cheese and bread. That impact that we made on his life is what fuels me, because here's the thing. When we impact a Jonathan Collins or a Tyler Osborne, they impact so many other people. Now Jonathan is impacting children and families in Uganda, as well as the sellers, the buyers, the title companies, the contractors, the back taxes, the mortgages that get paid off, everything that comes along with what we accomplish when we do a wholesale deal. He is changing lives because we were able to impact his. And so every single day, I'm not worried about what's the next thing that we're going to do. I'm just solely focused on how can we get more Jonathan Collins? How can we get more Tyler Osbornes inside of TU? So the next country that needs an orphanage gets it. The next family that needs their life changed like your family did. How can we do that? How can we impact more people that way? Because then you guys go out and y'all change thousands of and impact thousands of people's lives. So that's what drives me every single day to do what I do. Moving forward into the future, I'm not looking for the next thing, because I think as entrepreneurs, that is a mistake that we make. We're always focused on, all right, I've accomplished running a successful wholesale operation. I've accomplished having a successful education community, and that's on autopilot now. So what's the next thing that I'm going to go do? What's the next big thing? The next big thing for me is how do we go from the Ridgely Theater with 200 people from TU to how do we go to Bass Hall where we can have 1,600 to then how do we go to Dickies Arena where we have 14,000. If we have 14,000 people inside of Dickies Arena that are all Titanium University members, imagine the impact that we're making on this world. That's what I'm focused on. I'm focused on the industry that back in 2012, 2013, 2014, I looked at and I said, I want to be a part of that. And then it changed my life. And then at some point in time in 2017, when I said I want to start a podcast and I was afraid of cameras and lights, I literally would refuse to go on camera. My first podcast, there was no video. It was just audio. And I had 4 questions that I would ask. That was it because I was afraid to do it. Now somehow I find myself in a position as a leader in this industry. Well, I'm grateful for every single second of it. And so I cherish these moments that I have right now to how can we make as much of an impact as possible? How do we weed out the bad eggs that are trying to tarnish and taint this industry because they don't care about wholesaling. They care about how much money they're making, how cool they look on Instagram. I don't give a shit about any of that. All I care about is how do I find another Jonathan Collins? How do I find another Tyler Osborne? And what impact does that have moving forward on this industry and making sure that we do things the correct way? That's what's next.
I love it. Goosebumps. And I'm glad I'm going to be there right along with you. I did not know that about Jonathan. And that's awesome. That's what gave me goosebumps. So I love it. That's my main thing here too. This is why I did social media. You pushed me, but I finally realized I know enough and I've watched enough people that don't know enough to where I'm like, I need to put out more content to hopefully override the algorithm to push them guys out. So I completely love that. Now, that kind of went into my next kind of question. So we're talking about filling Dickies Arena. Well, first, TU's origination.
Yep.
Where was the first thought? Were you at the park? You seen a guy ride by? You seen a crappy YouTube video from someone? Where was like the first initial birth of it that you remember? And then what was that following, say, month of like birthing it?
Most people don't know this, but Titanium University was a thought that Cassie and I had for many years before it ever came to fruition. The initial thought was a lot of people that came up in this industry at the same time that now graduated into starting their own social media presence, their own education companies. Cassie and I had the thought of how amazing would it be if instead of trying to decide between RJ Bates, Steve Trang, Chris Jefferson, Pace Morby, what if we were all just one university and then you could sign up for classes just like you do at a true university and you have your own professor? And so there was a point in time where myself and Cassie and Aaron Bevins, we flew to Arizona. We had sit-down meetings. We pitched the idea to Steve, to Pace before Sub 2 was even a thing. We taught the batch, and we were basically pitching it where it was like, you would be the professor of your topic. And people would literally sign up for the university, and it would kind of be a little bit socialist where we're like, hey, we're all splitting the money equally. But that was the original intention with Titanium University. Now, the issue was that's a bunch of entrepreneurs that didn't want to be a part of that. They wanted to own their own thing. It wasn't about the betterment of the industry. It was about how do I make the most money? And then I don't hold any grudges against them. A lot of them have gone out and made life-changing money, and they probably made the right decision. I don't think Cassie and I were in the right place at the time to be the leader that we needed to be to start that version of Titanium University. But we always had that in our mind that ultimately we wanted to do something larger called Titanium University. But our first initial education platform was the 2-day boot camps called the Titanium Crucible. We would have people come into our office. We would show them. And then eventually it came to a point where We did not like the fact that for 2 days, we really got to know you. And then you were just gone. Mm-hmm. And then we knew that you were going to forget some of the things that we said in the middle of day 2 or day 1. And it wasn't going to always work out. And there was no way for us to continue that relationship. And so we decided we don't know what we're going to do, but we know we're not going to do the Crucible anymore. Mm-hmm. So we did our final Crucible, and that's when Nick Robbins came. You know, Nick and Sima are our business partners inside of Titanium University. Sima was battling cancer. She had a new treatment. Nick had bought his ticket to the Crucible. He tried to cancel. Sima told him to come. He sat in the back of the room. He listened to our introduction of who we were. And then I was like, all right, you know, everyone take a potty break, and then we're going to come back and we're going to really start diving into content. And he walked up to me, shook my hand, and he said, dude, I don't get it, but I've been a part of a lot of coaching programs, a lot of coaching events. You should be way bigger than you are. And I looked at him, and without knowing his background, I said, I agree. I just need a guy that knows how to get my face out there and my voice out there. And he goes, well, maybe we should have a conversation because that's what my background's in. And from there, the next Monday, we had a Zoom call. He shows up with his $10 million a year ClickFunnels award right behind his head. And I'm like, is that the $10 million award? And he's like, yeah. You know, I won that from my marketing agency. And I'm like, oh, this is my dude. This is my dude right here. Yeah. And, you know, I love Nick to death. He's my brother. I knew right from the get-go that he was someone I wanted on my team, but he had to pass the test. And the test was, I don't want to have this conversation unless you're serious about being my business partner for the next 20 years. I want to be 60 years old, 65 years old, standing on the mountaintop with you, as long as that's what you want. But if you are not willing to make that commitment, I don't want to have this conversation. And he said, let's have the conversation. And then that's when we started every Tuesday going live. That was the first decision that we made. Then we did the King Closers Formula lead magnet free PDF. That led to us doing a Closers Formula live event in our office. We had 60 people here closing deals live in the office. And then we said, all right, what's the long-term play? And that's when Cassie and I said, well, we had this idea called Titanium University. And here's what we thought. And then we said, but what if we just take out everyone else and it just becomes us and we build up inside of the community? Can we make leaders in this industry from TU? And I think we're well on our way. And so that's how Titanium University came about.
I love it. Yeah. And, well, one quick thing. As of right now, are you further than we thought, behind, right where you think we should have been?
I think as far as the growth of the community, I think we are ahead of where we probably thought we could get. You know, we're approaching 900 members at this point. That's pretty significant growth for less than 2 years. So that we're really happy with the growth of the size of the community. I think as far as results inside the community, there's great testimonials inside of there. There's great results, but I would like to see more commitment to becoming a wholesaler. I think we've had way too many people that were kind of dipping their toe in the water. And part of that is the price point that we charge, right? Sub 7,000. Back when you got started, it was 5,000, right? And so we had people come in and it was like, yeah, you know, for $5,000, I'm interested in this wholesaling thing. And then because, you know, it didn't work out the first 2 weeks, 3 weeks, you know, all right, we're going to push that on the back burner. So I'd like to see better results, but you know this, we are adding things constantly to try to make the results better inside the community. So I'm proud of what we've become as a power in the community, the industry. People know what Titanium University is. It's got a great reputation. I think it's starting to become a reputation of, if you're a part of TU, you do deals, which is fantastic. It's a testament to guys like you and Hyro and Caesar and Claude and all of you guys that really kind of set that standard. But I'm never going to be happy, right? I'm always going to be pushing for, I want to see more. I want to see higher results inside of that. And you know this from Element 22, our live event, where I shared that. I pushed that, where it was like, I don't think that we should be happy where we are today, you know, and I don't think we should be happy where we are as an industry. So that's not just inside of TU. I'm looking at it as a whole, where we're not where we should be, because if we were, we wouldn't have Ohio bringing down regulations on us saying, oh, hey, Mr. Wholesaler, you have to tell a seller that you're a wholesaler before. Why did we have to have that regulation? Because we're not doing a good enough job as an industry. And so it starts with us inside of our community, and then I think we'll make a bigger difference in the long run.
Yeah, no, 1,000,000%. And that's why I'm so huge on transparency. And just like I always say, if you're transparent, you just have the best interest for the seller, bring value, and just do right. Like, you're going to make money. Yeah. Okay, so that's awesome. So inside of TU, you know, we have all kinds of stuff. Call reviews, sell Cassie your deals, comp reviews. We got office hours running. We got Discords running. We got modules. We got everything. Whenever new people come in now, I can imagine, oh my goodness, if they're new coming in, I got lucky and I was building it with you, and it was very basic. Now the content is nuts. So how a perfect RJ Bates, perfect TU avatar person comes in, what does that look like? Give me a 2-3 month overview breakdown. Come in, do modules 2 days, come in, don't do modules, come in, do this. How will they succeed? What would you structure, we'll say, the probation period as?
Yeah. That initial, first couple of weeks is extremely critical, that you don't get overwhelmed and realize that everybody sucks at everything that they do in the beginning, right? And so even if you're an experienced wholesaler or a real estate investor, it's still going to be a change in your life if you're really going to utilize everything that TU brings to the table. So the initial start should be go in, watch the mindset modules, watch the King Closers formula modules, and watch the web formula, wherein buyers buy modules. Watch those so you understand, like, all right, this is when RJ says hedgehog concept or stop searching for unicorns or consistent as a tree. I know what the hell he's talking about. All right, I know how to talk to sellers, and I know how to comp and underwrite. And then attend every implementation call getting started so you kind of understand what the community is about, and then kind of through osmosis start really understanding what everybody is doing, and then really leverage the Discord. Go into the Discord, start calling sellers alongside guys like you, alongside the Brett Poes and the Taylor Fords and everybody that's in there every single day. So when you're on a phone call, it's important that you do a call review by me, but that's not live. But if you're on a phone with a seller and you don't know what to say, but you're on Discord and Tyler's in there with you, Tyler will be like, bro, say this, do this. Let me comp that for you real quick. But then simultaneous, while you're not on the phone, you get to listen to Tyler talk to sellers and lock up a deal. And so you start surrounding yourself and you get inundated with the community, but also you start building relationships, right? Think about the friendships that you have developed with Jason Strickland and Danielle and all of these people inside the community that are strangers. Like, literally some dude that drives in a van every day in Virginia, you're like best friends with, it's like, this woman who overcame, basically a death diagnosis in California, who isn't even full-time in wholesaling, has become such a huge part of your life. How did that happen? Well, it doesn't happen by sitting on the sideline. No. It happens with your action. It didn't happen because RJ and Cassie said, Tyler, go become really good friends with Jason and Danielle. You did that. You utilized and leveraged the community. And I think that just takes time. right? But the best way to do it today inside of TU is implementation calls and being in the Discord. That's how you really do it. And then start taking the action. We're going to give you over 60 leads on day one that you can start taking action inside of Discord right next to Tyler and everybody else.
That's perfect answer. So I've been preaching on this Discord, and I feel like people think I'm joking lately, but it has changed my business. Like point blank, period. No questions asked. Discord has changed my business. You know me, my usual working hours, calling money hours were 10 to 1. Now they're anywhere between 9 and 8. I'm talking, I've been on at 8 o'clock lately. I've been on at 6:30. I'm dialing, I'm smiling, and it's the energy in there. And I come in, I'm like you, I'm competitive. I'm low key, like you ain't that good. You ain't that good. But I see you dialing. So watch this, and it's like, he's about to get a deal. Let me buy that lead. So for me, it's accountability. And I know as soon as we get off here, I'm jumping in Discord, and I'm going to, when I get in there, I'm just a leader in the group. So pretty much they know cameras on and talking. And if not, I'm leaving the group and I'll be in another one.
Yep.
Like you said, though, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say the other night, I heard Cassie, like we were up at the office and Cassie's office is all the way across, right? And it's like 7 o'clock at night and I can hear her talking. And so I can always find something to do. I'm over here writing a Facebook post. I'm making a graphic. Shit, I'm going into random Facebook groups, making posts, right? And I hear her talking. So I'm like, well, I guess we're not leaving yet because she's on with somebody. And so finally she comes out of her office and I was like, hey, who were you meeting with? She said, oh, nobody. I was just in the Discord. She said, I dropped in the Discord. I saw Beth been there. I saw Don was in there and they were calling sellers. And so Don got somebody on the phone. I was comping the deal for them. I mean, imagine that access of having Cassie at 7 o'clock at night on a Wednesday, freaking comping your deal for you while you're on the phone with the seller. I mean, it's just, we are that passionate about it where it's like, we almost can't help ourselves. I think Beth asked Cassie, she goes, damn girl, it's like 7:30 at night over there in Texas. What are you doing? Like, go home. And Cassie was like, I don't really have anything to do. Like, I'm going to do this. I want to help you guys out. I'm going to go home in about 10 minutes, but we just wanted to hop on here and see if we could help you out real quick. And it has changed a lot of people's businesses just because, like you said, that energy, that connection, the engagement, it keeps you focused and it generates results.
Yeah, dude. And so like I got one person to shout out, Olivia Thornton.
Yeah.
She's been in there and I've been giving feedback. And, something that really impresses me with people is when they're like taking notes when we're talking. Shout out her and Kathy Jeffers. Kathy, I'm talking, we had a one-on-one the other day. And then I ran office hours last night and I was going to talk a lot about that. Jason said, Kathy, introduce Tyler. And then Jason did. Well, she said my whole pitch. She did the whole pitch. And I'm like, well, that's what I was going to talk about, but okay. But she literally had all my notes. So Olivia, the other day, she kept saying about the property. So 2 calls in a row, I'm like, hey, don't say that. And that third call, I think she quit saying it. Now she probably does some, but she implemented. And so I'm in the chat. Hey, ask this. Is it vacant? Has probate started? And during the same time, Danny Force is comping her deal. And she's strictly just listening to motivation. Like she's just chilling. And so you're not comping. You're just listening. You got me helping acquisitions. You got Danny comping. She's brand new. Think of the confidence that gives you. Yep. So, and it did. I've just seen her explode. So
I think they've gotten 2 contracts this week, and it's their second week inside of TU. Her and her brother, I don't think they've ever had a contract. Maybe I'm incorrect. So. Yeah, and so it's like instantly just massive results for them. But they have been, Olivia especially. I don't know about Drew, but Olivia especially has been extremely active on both implementation calls and the Discord. It's basically, if she's not on an implementation call, she's in Discord.
I was just on with her before this. And I was like, hey, is implementation over or something? Because I had someone to stop by. She's like, I don't know, but it's 1 o'clock and I got to dial.
Yep.
And I'm like, all right, that's what I'm talking about. And then I'm like, I got to go. Which leads me to another good point. So I was actually talking to Quinn about this last night after office hours, and basically telling him, why don't you lead more? Why are you not in the community? Why are you just speak up? Why are you not making Facebook posts? Why are you not offering help here? And essentially it comes down to imposter syndrome. Always. I'm just now getting over it. Like, finally, it took me 2 years, a year and a half of YouTube videos, like it took me a while, but we can see certain people that maybe they're not a master, but let's take a Quinn, for example, or something where he don't realize the people coming in, how much further ahead he is. And I'm like, dude, you've probably 1,000x'd since your first day till now. Right. Why aren't you speaking up in these rooms? Like, and I know he's like, if you're in there or Hyro or something, like, I don't feel it. I'm like, that's not what it is. Like, just as much. We might have specialties, but how do we get these people to get out of that and just realize, like, it's their group, it's everyone's group? Like, don't feel like it's a dumb question. Like, just bring value and help.
Yeah, I think that's hard because most people are always comparing themselves to someone else, right? It's that person's been here longer than me. That person's done more deals than me. But that also goes back to the engagement inside the group and the appreciation that we have to show each other when someone does share. And then that's what kind of will incentivize someone to share more often. And you see that at times inside the group. Garen Castle is a great example of this, where for a while, Garen was extremely quiet. And then he was struggling, but he was learning and he was working, stay-at-home dad, 3 kids. I think he had made $9,000 all year. And then he goes out and he closes like $82,000 in back-to-back closings, and it changes his life. And now he's got multiple deals. He's closing consistently, and he posts about the win, and that big win got him a lot of attention, rightfully so. But then the next time he decides to go into the group and post, it was just about straight value, about the questions that he received from that win. How did you overcome being the stay-at-home dad? How did you deal with the 3 kids when you're trying to work? So the next value post that he gave was not about how much money he made, but just how he was dealing with life. And it got just as much attention and support. And so that gave him confidence. And so then he continued to provide value. Whereas even last night, he made a post and he said, I understood the assignment. And I asked him, I said, bro, you know that the lyrics to the King Closer are, I'm him, I understood the assignment. And he said, yeah, I listened to the song, and that's what inspired this post, which I love because I've had so many YouTube videos, podcasts, and Facebook posts that are inspired by lyrics out of the song. So that was a cool moment for me. But the support that we give other people inside the community when they do provide value is just as important as when we provide value. And we try to instill that in people when they join Titanium University, which it's like, the reason why this group is engaging is because of y'all. If I go in there and I make all the posts and I make all the comments and I give all the answers, it's not Titanium University. It's RJ Bates dictatorship. And no one wants that. And so it's important for us to support, to communicate, and then also just be grateful when someone does provide value. And hopefully in the long run, that's what gets higher engagement. What I will say, Tyler, is I'm extremely, extremely proud of the engagement that we have inside of Titanium University. The last time I looked at it, we had 824 members inside the Facebook group. So we've grown since then. But there's 824 members. And inside the previous 28 days, 750 people had been active and had engaged inside of the group. Whether a post, a comment, a like, whatever it was, 750, that is an astronomical metric. And I hope that we're able to keep it that way inside the community forever.
Yeah, that's wicked. We can definitely see the post. I didn't know those numbers. So, and the reason I asked that is because I keep telling people you're doing a disservice to others by not, speaking up and giving what you can. So, I'll wrap it up here. I don't want to take all your time, but so going into this year doing this, like, how can I better serve you? How can I better serve Titanium? I'm loud, I'm putting out content. Like, how can I personally, and then how can the members collectively?
Well, I think the first thing for you as an individual is to realize how special you are to Titanium University. I mean, you proudly wear that first class shirt, probably more so than anyone else from the first class, which is awesome. But you do have that seniority in the group. Your voice matters. Your presence on Discord is fantastic, which also I love the fact that not only is it impacting other people, but it's also positively impacting your business. That's the whole intention behind everything that we're doing, is that as you help other people, it's also helping grow your business and your bank account. But finding new ways to connect with more people inside the group, leveraging the other aspects of what Discord does bring to the table, where you can just hop into the training room and say, hey, instead of being on, I'm just going to call sellers, or I'm going to talk to you about the closer's formula, or I'm going to talk about what I'm doing with my novations inside of Ohio, whatever it is, that makes a difference for somebody. As far as the community itself and what should we be focused on in 2026, it's really about, one, making more connections inside the group. I think every time we make positive connections makes a huge difference to the results that you receive. If we look at Jonathan Collins, going back to his story, 23 years old, negative $500. It started with Simone having a $2,800 balance in her Speed Elite account and letting Jonathan work that to turn it into $33,000. It started with Claude saying, hey, come join my month-long mentorship, Code Breakers, and let's really break your brain about what work ethic looks like, right? It's his connection with Max Garcia, his connection with the Bevins and Bombich group, right? Those are friendships. And because of those friendships, it's also made a difference to his life and his bank account. So it starts with those relationships. Then also leveraging that to have better results in your wholesaling business and continuing to lay the foundation for what it means to be a Titanium University member. What that looks like is we do things with transparency. We do things correctly. We change the way that this industry looks at wholesaling because of what we do, and that's how we become the leaders in this space. Not RJ and Cassie become the leaders, but Titanium University becomes the leaders in this space, and that starts with guys like you and Jairo and Caesar and the Claudes, and everybody inside the community has that opportunity to step up and say, I want to be a loud enough voice in this industry where we weed out the people that are trying to teach incorrect tactics, morals, ethics, and we change the way that wholesaling is looked at as an industry. That's what I want from you guys. You're already doing it, brother. I'm so proud of you for what you've accomplished with this, with your YouTube channel and your content. I see you finding your rhythm and your voice, and like you said before we started this, you love it. And so embrace that. Embrace it and lean more into who you are, because who you are is enough, and it's what people love about you.
I appreciate that, man. And something you said earlier that I can confirm is we do move differently as Titanium as a whole. And I've heard people say it. I had a one-on-one today. I've had like at least 10 one-on-ones this year. It's like the 8th. I've been on a grind. I love it. But I had a meeting with a guy, and he's basically like, I want to be in TU. You do deals. Like he said, I watch you, Caesar, Hyro, and it already is really like, if you're in TU, you do deals. That's the standard. It's not you just come in and you're in the group. Like, you do deals. So I think we're there as that sense. Now we got to spread further, but like we are already associated with that. So, and by the way, as we're sitting here, I just got a signed contract here in Ohio, Portsmouth. I call it Portsmouth. So it's not the best area, but we'll figure it out. But yeah, man, dude, I appreciate your time. Everyone also as well. Thanks for watching. Comment, like, subscribe. RJ, anything you want to say to the people? Anything about TU? Any outro you got?
I would say if you are serious about wholesaling and you want to make this a career for yourself, then you need to be a part of Titanium University. And I'm not saying that from a perspective of I want to make money off of you or anything like that, because let's be real, we could charge a lot more than what we do. Right now, the total price is $6,999. We have payment plans available for that. But the reason why I want you in there is because I want more Tyler Osbornes. I want more Cesar Lacostas, Jairo Rodriguez. We want to change the way that this industry is looked at. And if you want to be a part of that movement, if you want to be one of the asses in the seats at Dickies Arena and be brought up on stage and given a Create Your Own Reality award, to be able to sit up on a panel and talk about this is how we leverage the closer's formula to close deals all over the United States with transparency and authenticity and honesty, then joining Titanium University is a no-brainer. If that's not important to you, if you're just worried about making money and looking cool on Instagram and you don't care about morals and ethics and lying to sellers and doing all that, go join the other communities. We didn't want you in the first place.
Yep, I agree. And definitely join TU. Don't listen to even RJ about it. Go in, join Facebook, The Vault. Ask TU students. Say, hey, thinking about TU, DM me, want to talk about TU. I'm always down to meet. So hear it from the people that's doing it, because I know, looking at it, as people think gurus, I was the same way. I thought RJ was fake for 2 years. But reach out to us. We'll tell you all about it. And I appreciate your time, RJ, and we'll see y'all next time.